Michael Jackson, I mean, the name itself is just an event, right? For decades, he wasn't just a pop star. He was, without a doubt, one of the most famous people on the entire planet. But what was it? What was the secret sauce that created this global phenomenon? To really get it, we kind of have to look at what fame even means today.
So to get a handle on just how big Michael Jackson's peak was, it actually helps to look at fame right now. The media personality Bill Simmons kicked off this huge debate recently by asking this exact question. And it's a good one because it really forces us to think about what that level of all-encompassing global fame actually is. And what Simmons is getting at here, this idea of sustained relevance, that's the key. It's the perfect lens to look back at Jackson because his peak wasn't just a flash in the pan. It was an entire era that he completely defined. So let's break down the pillars of his artistry, starting with the foundation of it all, his sound. Yeah, before the moonwalk, before the groundbreaking videos, there was the voice. And it wasn't just something he sang with, it was an instrument he played. It was packed with all this texture and rhythm and emotion that was just unlike anybody else. This quote from his longtime engineer, Bruce Swedian, wow, it just perfectly captures the paradox of Michael Jackson's genius. He had this raw, electric talent to absolutely nail it on the second take, but then he had the relentless perfectionism to do it 89 more times, just to be sure. It's incredible. All right, let's clear up a pretty common misconception. You hear his high-pitched vocals, and a lot of people just assume it was all falsetto. But that's not the full picture, not at all. Sure, he was a master of the falsetto, but he could also hit those exact same high notes in a really powerful, full-chested voice. He chose which one to use for emotional effect. It was an artistic choice. And he literally used his voice as a drum machine. I mean, those weren't just random sounds he was making. They were rhythmic punctuation. The gasps, the hiccups, the hee-hees, they were just as crucial to the beat as the actual drums. You hear one of those ticks and you know instantly who you're listening to. So, where did all this come from? Well, Jackson himself said, "The greatest education in the world is watching the masters at work." And for him, the ultimate master was, without a doubt, James Brown. He studied everything: Brown's stage presence, his dance moves, his raw vocal power. Jackson even gave this incredibly moving eulogy at Brown's funeral, calling him his greatest inspiration. But Michael's artistry didn't stop at the sound. Not even close. He didn't just want you to hear his music, he wanted you to see it. When MTV came along, he didn't just see a marketing tool. No, he saw a brand new canvas for telling stories. Just look at this timeline. It shows just how fast he changed the entire game. I mean, think about it. In the single year of 1983, he basically redefined the music video twice. First, with Billie Jean, he kicked down the door for black artists on a very reluctant MTV. And then, with Thriller, he turned the video into this must-see movie event that families would literally gather around the TV to watch.
And this is such a crucial point. It's kind of hard to imagine now, but back in its early days, MTV was mostly a rock channel. It took a ton of pressure from his record label, CBS, who basically threatened to pull all their other artists, just to get Billie Jean on there. But once it aired, the floodgates just blew wide open, not just for him, but for a whole generation of black artists. And his dedication to the visual side of his music never faded. The reported budget for his 1995 video Scream was a jaw-dropping $7 million. At the time, that made it the most expensive music video ever made. This wasn't just about spending money. It was a statement about the power and the importance of this art form that he basically helped create. So Jackson's impact went way beyond just sound and vision. In the early 80s, the music industry was in a major slump. And as Time magazine famously put it, Michael Jackson was a one-man rescue team. Just think about this number for a second. 133.4 million. That's how many people watched his 1993 Super Bowl halftime show. For the very first time in history, more people tuned in to watch the halftime performance than the actual game. He turned a 15-minute break into the biggest stage on Earth. And he channeled that cultural force into humanitarian work too. We Are the World, the charity single he co-wrote with Lionel Richie, raised an incredible $63 million for famine relief in Africa. To put that in perspective, that's like raising over $180 million today. All of this led to a pretty simple reality, and this quote just sums it up perfectly. During his peak in the mid-80s, he was just operating on a completely different plane of existence from every other artist. It It wasn't even a competition anymore. He was the standard.
But of course, no story of Michael Jackson is complete or honest without acknowledging the complexities and the controversies that really defined his later life and continue to shape how we view his legacy today. And this slide really shows you those stark contrasts. On the one hand, you have a global philanthropist, the guy who founded the Heal the World Foundation, donated millions, and was honored for his charity work by 2 U.S. presidents. On the other hand, you have a man who lived under this microscope of intense public and media scrutiny, from his changing appearance because of the skin condition vitiligo to facing 2 child molestation trials, the second of which, in 2005, ended with him being acquitted on all charges.
And, Jackson himself felt this judgment so deeply. In this handwritten note from way back in 1987, years before his biggest legal battles, you can just feel his plea for understanding, the sense that the public image had totally swallowed the person. And so, that leaves us with this final, really difficult question. When an artist's work is so monumental, so influential, and their life is so full of controversy and pain, how do we reconcile those two things? What is it ultimately that endures? That's something that I think each of us has to decide for ourselves.